Well, let's change our conversation. The minimum wage deadline of December 31st last year passed. While some states have commenced payment, others are still lagging. The Nigerian Labour Congress is gearing up for a showdown with some state governors who are yet to show signs of compliance.
Though before now, Chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, Kayode Fayemi, says governors of the 36 states remain committed to paying the 30,000 naira minimum wage. And on the other hand, some governors are still waiting for a review of the revenue sharing formula in order for them to meet up with the new law.
Very well said, Chief Shaito. Joining us now from our Abuja studio is Joshua Adalumo, a public affairs analyst. But before we get started, let's take a look at the end of this year review by Rise News correspondent Chima Wanko. We'll be right back after this.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
In the first week of January 2019, the Nigerian Labour Congress began to mobilize its members for a nationwide strike, following the refusal of the Nigerian government to send the new minimum wage bill to the National Assembly. However, after a meeting with Labour, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari agreed to transmit the bill to the National Assembly on the 23rd of January 2019. After taking submissions from its in-house committee on the matter on the 19th of March, Nigeria's Senate approved 30,000 naira as the new national minimum wage with an appeal to the federal government to start the implementation immediately to prevent organized labor from going on strike. On the 18th of April, President Muhammadu Buhari signed the new minimum wage bill into law. On the 14th of May 2019, the Minimum Wage Committee was inaugurated. The committee was chaired by the former head of the civil service, Winifred Oyoita. Talks between the federal government and Labour began in earnest. In July, government proposed a 10% increment for officers on grade level 7 to 14 and a 5.5% increment for workers on level 15 to 17. Labour rejected this proposal, saying it wanted a 30% increase for workers on levels 7 to 14 and 25% for levels 15 to 17. After a deadlock in August, with both sides refusing to yield ground, the talks were postponed to September 2019. In principle, the federal government had agreed to review the minimum wage upwards. However, what needed to be worked out was the consequential adjustment. In other words, who exactly would get what? Labour proposed that government give civil servants on salary grade levels 7 to 14 a 29% increase and those on 15 to 17 a 24% hike. However,
Well, let's bring in Joshua Adalumo now, a public affairs analyst, as we told you earlier. Thank you, Mr. Adalumo, for joining us at this time. And Happy New Year to you.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So when you hear that there are some states that are yet to even begin negotiations on the consequential adjustments of the wage, what comes to mind? Is it the overindulgence of the governors in the past, or the weak negotiation powers of what the labor unions have become?
I think the weak negotiating power or the unity within the labor community is actually the problem. And I think labor needs to go for what is right. They need to put more pressures on these governors. The fact is this: there's no reason why these governors shouldn't pay the minimum wage. If they are more productive at the state level, they would be able to meet up with any of these things, but they just come to Abuja at the end of the month, pick up cash, and go back. That's one. Two, at the federal level, the same federal staffs having the same qualifications are the same people in the state having the same qualifications. If you can pay the federal staff's money and the governors pick up this money, their own share, and come to the state, nothing stops them in paying this money. The truth is this: they can actually pay this money. The problem is they were not ready for this. Why? Because they have enough money at their jurisdiction. They have what they need to pay these guys, but they want to hold back to themselves. I understand how very, very dangerous this stand I'm taking can be. But the truth is this: these workers, they are entitled to a raise. The truth is, the raise in the minimum wage is not really a raise. 5 years ago, we had inflation at 9%. or 4 years ago, 2015. This 2020. The inflation rate is doubled, above double. So that money is almost the same thing. It's not really a race. We're just looking at the increase in the money. And meanwhile, the minimum wage pegged at 30,000 naira. What do you think Nigerians can do with this, looking at the inflation rate we have? So I think there should be more pressure that should be mounted on the governors. They should pay. They have no reason not to pay.
Okay, Mr. Adalumo, I just want to explore that idea. And it's a regular refrain by a lot of analysts in the public space that the government, or the state governments, can pay. But I want to ask you, do you honestly, looking at the economic indices, think they have a viability to be able to pay this 30,000 naira? I mean, I'll give you an instance. This was the same state governors they had to bail out, a couple of months back. A couple of years back, I should say. They had to bail them out because they couldn't pay. This, like I said about 2 days ago, these are the same state governors. The state governor did see his budget, and he went out crying. I was like, how are we going to get the money? Not a lot of states in this country are getting money through internally generated revenue. So do you think they can really pay this without having a big overhang when it comes to debt?
Thank you. I was expecting this question. The truth is this. You see, when we have managers that are not productive in the aims of affairs, then we will have to dance to this kind of results. The truth is this. Have you ever asked yourself why a governor has never complained of his personal money or personal salary or his aides? Have you ever asked that question? But when it comes to payment of salary, they tell you there's no money. The truth is this, yes, there's no money, but they borrow money to pay all the federal staffs. They borrow money to pay your legislatures. All these legislatures have never for once complained or tell you, oh, we are being paid this so huge amount. Why shouldn't these governors pay for this? Nobody talks about that. The truth is this. If they want to pay, they can pay. The question is this, can they manage their own personal ventures the way they manage the government staffs? Can they? The truth is this. Yes, they give them bailout, but have you asked that what did they do with the bailouts? Even after the bailouts were given, some governors didn't pay. Some governors were still owing. So the problem is not about having the resources or not. Everybody in this country knows that Nigeria is blessed. We have the resources, we have everything, but there's so much misappropriation everywhere. So the problem is not really a problem in the real sense. The issue is this. With this kind of problem coming up, all these governors are meant to go back to their tables and start thinking of how productive they can be. If you have ghost workers that you've put on the list yourself, it is time to lay them off. If you have staffs that are not working, it is time to lay them off. Yes, the country will be more tougher, but the truth is this, it is high time for us to start doing the right thing at the right time. You can't have all these people working, going to schools, teaching, under bad environments, going to, all the government parastatals and working, files are being transferred every day. People are working 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and you won't pay them. Not paying them is one of the reasons why you see some government staffs, behaving lackadaisically at their work. So the fact is this ball has to stop at the governor's table. They need to think of how to make more money and actually pay their staffs. They can't pay, they must pay, they will pay.
Okay, Mr. Adalumo, I understand your points. However, the truth is there are states that are still suffering when it comes to internally generated revenue. And we have states like Lagos that have no problem paying 30,000. I've even promised to go over. Now, how can these states, you've spoken about mismanagement of funds, but how can these states increase their internally generated revenue? Because it is a problem that we are seeing across some of these states. Beautiful
question. Now, the truth is this. Some of our laws and our policies needs to be reviewed. The truth is this, every state in Nigeria is blessed with one mineral resources or the other. And every of these mineral resources have the capacity of raising enough funds. I understand, you look at a state like Kogi State, for example. All the state government is owing so much over the years, and then the federal government rolled out some bailout fund, and the governor was able to meet up. But let me ask you a question. Do you know the level of mineral resources that are in Kogi State? The biggest iron ore that you can think of in West Africa is in Kogi State, lying fallow. There's nothing stopping the governor and the federal government having a bilateral agreement and the governor going all out to look for investors to invest in some of these things. See, we don't have foresight because most of this government, I'm sorry to say, come to Abuja to pick up funds. If everybody picks up fund in Abuja and does not work for it, then it's okay for me to tell you I can't pay. But if I'm managing the funds of the state and I'm actually working, and these governors, they have essays. They have essays that can go to the bank. They can think, come up with something that you can use to increase your IGR. But every time you keep waiting to come to Abuja to pick up monthly stuffs, definitely you would actually be reducing your capacity to think. I'm not against them picking up money from Abuja every month. But the truth is this, if that money is not sufficient enough, then what are you bringing up from your own side? Increase your IGR. It's simple. And if you can't pay, you see, these things, there's no mathematics in these things. Increase your IGR. Find any way you can. If it's loan, the banks are there. You are the chief executive officer of your state. The banks are ready to give you loan. Get the loan. Invest in agriculture. Invest in power. Invest in education, state education. You won't have issues paying. We think Lagos is making more IGR because of the port. No, there are several other ways Lagos is making money. It's a commerce center. What of Kano? Kano does not have a port, but Kano is making enough money. Increase the business in your area. You go out and source for investors to come to your state. There are many things you can do. But if you don't do this, you feel, oh, every month the money will come. Let me just sit down on politics. Let me start playing party games. Definitely, we will have these problems.
Well, I would like you to weigh in on the argument, because at this stage, we have every state setting up a committee to negotiate the consequential wage adjustment. Do you think that perhaps the states should set the minimum wage instead of the federal government passing it into law and then the states having to negotiate all over again? I'd like to get your thoughts on that argument, but we'll have to go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be right back with you, Mr. Joshua Adalumo. Stay with us. Glad to have you back, everyone. You're still watching the Morning Show here on the Rise News. We're still talking about the new minimum wage here in Nigeria. Joshua Adalumo, a public affairs analyst, is in our Abuja studios. We're talking about this stalemate. Before that break, Mr. Joshua, I was asking you about, the debate on if the state should set the minimum wage and not the federal government passing it into law, and then it passes all the way down to the states, and then we'll have this back and forth, the brickbats between the governors and Labour. What's your thought on that debate? Also, I'd like to add at this point, how close do you think we are to the end of this stalemate?
Wow. Okay, let me start from the last question. I don't think we are close. I think we're still a little bit far. Reason is because the governors are not, in my own honest opinion, some governors are not sincere. I don't think they really have the interest of their staffs at heart. What do I mean? The disparity in this federal government and state government salary structure is so much, and that's been an error from the start. Secondly, there's been a problem that these governors are not ready to increase or to have anything to use in helping their staffs to develop. They don't have that. They don't have that capacity. Or let me put it this way: they don't have that mindset. So it requires the labor to take this battle to the federal government, and for the federal government to pass it into law. What you are suggesting that this should have started from the state government can never happen. They will never do it that way. They will tell you, like you can see, they don't have the money to pay, they don't have the capacity to pay, they have so much staffs, blah, blah, blah. So that can never happen. You can't let them have that decision. The best way to go about it is the federal government passing it into law. Secondly, there needs to be a critical look and adjustment into the disparity between federal and state workers' salary. The truth is this, you keep having people trying to get federal government job. Why? They will tell you it has security, one. Two, they will tell you because of the salary structure. I feel if the salary structure between the federal government and the state government is at par or almost close, you have the governors working hard and supervising their staffs the more. Because now you have to pay and you need to find the reason for you paying. The federal government also will definitely also move up, will also definitely feel like, okay, they will lose some staffs to the state government if the state are performing well. Because instead of me being in Abuja, working for the federal government, I'd rather be in my state, stay close to my people, get the same amount of money at a better or lower standard cost of living than staying or working for the federal anywhere. Because I know my state will take care of me very well. But you see more people people are lobbying, people are paying money. You see a federal parastatal wants to employ people, tells you that all of you should come to the stadium. That can never happen at the state level. But imagine the state staffs having almost similar salary to the federal government. Then everything will be at par. People will not struggle. People will not crave to kill themselves to get a federal job. So how do you get that to happen? Make it a law, as they've done. Make sure the governors pay. Okay. How are they going to pay? If you don't have money, then you have to increase on your IGR.
Okay. Mr. Adalumo, I want to just throw a little cog in the wheel of this conversation by throwing a very funny idea. Isn't it, we all talk about federalism in this country, but isn't the fact that the federal government is fixing minimum wage an anathema to federalism, as it were? Because, you see, when we say we had federalism, in any sense of it, we had regional systems in this country. The minimum wage across regions were different. And I'll give you an instance. Fayemi Awolowo in the 50s, campaigning for elections in this country, went to the north and did say that, if you elect us in, we will increase your minimum wage. I think it was about 5 or 6 shillings then. But the south was paying more than the north. So this conversation about federal government even setting it, don't we should just allow states set it in the spirit of federalism? It's a whimsical conversation. What's your take on it?
The problem is this. If you say the state should set it, the federal staffs will tell you, are they going to reduce their salary or the state is going to come up? The truth is this. If the state is going to set it, it's still not going to come close to the federal.
No, but because I'm saying that.
If you tell me, tell me how much can you pay?
Mr. Adalumo, I'm saying that in the real context of federalism, full state autonomy across board, state police, state public utility system, state salaries, the way it's applicable. So definitely, based on the current realities, a Lagos that has more money will pay more. A KB that doesn't have as much money as Lagos will pay based in tandem with their realities. So if we apply that federalist ideologies, isn't it going to save us all of this stress and dilly-dallying and going back and forth with negotiations?
It might be able to save us, but the truth is this. One state will definitely suffer than the other one. That is one. Two, how do you want to regulate this? Because, for example, if a state has the capacity of paying maybe 50,000, but the governor tells you, we don't have that capacity, we can only pay 20,000, then how do you fight that? Now, imagine two states that are just beside themselves. One is paying 20,000, the other is paying 60,000, and we both know that both states have the same resources, the same capacity. Maybe their governors have different capacity level for production. How do you base that? So the problem is this. Our governors, sorry to say, most of them don't have managerial abilities to run a state. They have only political capacities to run the state. And Nigerian Nigeria has not gotten to a level where our elections can produce, sorry to say, capable managers. If you have the right manager, no matter how poor a state is, that manager knows how to tweak things around and generate results. But we are still electing governors based on political capacity, the ability to be able to talk in political rallies, the ability to be able to win election based on tokenism and all these things. Definitely, we will always have this problem until we are able to get good managers. We are discussing this because we have managers at aims of affairs at state levels that have failed. Or else, the problem will not be the minimum wage, the value in itself. The discussion will have been governors coming together. How do we increase our IGR? How do I increase? They will have come to tell their legislatures that please help us push policies that will allow the federal government to give us some level of autonomy to be able to generate enough IGR. There are individuals that are mining, that are using natural resources in Nigeria to enrich themselves and, of course, to give employment to so many Nigerians. What stops a state governor embarking on such projects? Projects that, when you embark on them, they can employ not less than 100,000 of your state citizens, and it won't stop with you. Projects that can last 50, 100 decades. Not all these come to Abuja, pick money. It can't work, and I'm happy we are coming to this level. These are things that will drive policies to state governments having some levels of autonomy. I agree with you, but until we get right managers, until elections are right, we will keep dialoguing. We will keep having legislators sitting for just 5, 10 times in a month and collecting roughly 100 to 200 salaries of state workers at once. And while you have doctors working, doing 6 surgeries in a day under bad environment, teachers teaching under bad environment,
okay,
governors collecting the money, collecting
very quickly before we go,
that they are not accountable for.
I just want to ask you this. Now, you said that they will pay, they have to pay. It's a law. The federal government has put it into law. However, if we go on strike, it's actually the people that are going to suffer for it. These governors that are refusing to pay or are saying they don't have enough money, what should the consequences be? Very quickly.
Very quickly, okay. For me, let's go on strike. We all need to pay some level of sacrifice. The truth is this. We don't go on strike, nothing has happened. If anything will happen, it has to be strike. Something
okay, thank you very much, Mr. Joshua Adalumo, Public Affairs Analyst, for coming on the show this morning and on the national minimum wage. And that brings us to the end of the show today. I am Adesua Omorwan.
I'm Rufai Yuseni.
And I'm Shereto Antigari. Thank you for watching. You can also follow us on all the social media handles showing now on the screen. As we say goodbye to this new year 2020.
You're saying goodbye today?